The Who. The Who. Ha 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 ha. It's Clark the Shark. 1-800-449-8255. The Clark the Shark Show. And we're going to be reviewing this amazing album, The Who by Numbers. What a weird, joyous, depressing, confusing, man, The Who. Now everybody knows Clark the Shark from GE loves The Who. Man, this band, it's my favorite band of all bands. By far. I mean, The Who, you know, kick-ass frontman, lead singer, balls to the walls, blows the paint off the walls, baby. Roger Daltrey, lead singer, insane. And Pete Townsend, who is just a hack, man. This guy can't play at all, man. He knows it too. He's terrible on everything. He's like worse than Neil Young. I swear to God. Um, Pete is just he's talented and he's got vision, but his guitar playing is struggles, man. On every album too, and live. He makes a lot of mistakes. He's out of tune, and I fucking love it. I love The Who because all their mistakes and warts and acne and farts and everything wrong with The Who is what makes them so awesome. And Keith Moon, he's really not the world's greatest drummer, but he is the world's greatest drummer because he makes you believe he is. And then when you really break down Keith Moon, the fucking guy really can play drums. I mean, his style is, man. I mean, he's no John Bonham, and he's no Carl Palmer, and he's no Bill Bruford. And, he can't even keep a beat like Ringo, man. I mean, he's always drunk and he smells and, oh man, he just cheats on his wives and girlfriends and he's a reckless maniac, smashes cars and fills things full of shaving cream and dives into pools and he's just, oh dude, he only lived to be 31 or 32 and there was no way. I'm surprised Keith Moon made it past 27. The guy should have been in the 27 club of rock and roll, man. His rock and roll IQ and rock and roll acumen. Him and Pete Townsend are just a couple of hacks, man. I mean, but when they're sober, you take away the alcohol and these guys can play. There's some good nights of Keith Moon. Listen to the bootlegs on YouTube, and you're going to find a lot of Keith Moon drumming. Especially like 1973 where he's just rocking the snare drum. And he's just got style, man. His technique is amazing. When you look at Keith Moon with a long view, you discover his rock and roll thing is just unparalleled, man. He is the greatest Keith Moon type drummer in the world. And guys like Neil Peart from Rush and Phil Collins, Phil Collins is kind of a douchebag, but A Trick of the Tail is fucking killer, and, Wind and Wuthering. But as Genesis goes along, man, I don't know, I start to lose interest in that, but there are drummers that look to Keith Moon, important drummers like Neil Peart and others, and myself, Clark the Shark. We wish Keith could have been better and tighter and had, the skill and technique of John Bonham. But for what he is, man, and if Keith Moon worked out in the gym and ran and and was a vegetarian and never drank, the fucking guy would be Neil Peart, man. I swear to God, he would. Uh, he'd be incredible. And even as it is, with all the drinking, this guy was just soaked in alcohol and pills and drugs. And, he was still amazing drummer. The people who knock Keith Moon, they don't understand it, man. I talked to the drummer of Dragon Force, Dave McIntosh, one night, and he said he loves Keith Moon. Uh, that energy of Live at Leeds. And I've talked to a lot of guys, man, and Keith Moon is a fucking amazing drummer. He just plays 4/4. That's it. He's like a Ringo, but who does a lot of fills and rolls and cymbals, and he even does shit on double bass. Like he does blast beats before anybody, and he does triplets with the floor toms and the rack toms and the bass drums. That fucking sound killer when he's sober, man. Live at Leeds, and check out Live at Hull, Keith Moon. Check out a lot of shit from 1968 to 73. Even 1975, 76, Keith Moon is still doing it. And who knows, if Keith Moon had been in a better band than The Who, and he wasn't all drunk and always high, he might be one of those fucking amazing drummers like Buddy Rich, like Gene Krupa, like whoever of all time. But that wouldn't be Keith Moon, man. Keith was a drunken maniac, sociopath, psychopath, and he was not meant to live long. I can't believe the guy made it past 27 at 1-800-449-8255. And John Entwistle, this guy is the fucking most amazing bass player. Lemmy said John Entwistle is it, man. And people talk about John Paul Jones of Zeppelin and other guys, and for me, man, John Entwistle destroys everybody. He's a 4/4 bassist. He's no Chris Squire or any of that. Those guys that they can just play all kinds of shit like Greg Lake, and but for the Who, man, for the greatest band, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, this man, John Entwistle, is the greatest bassist. He's on Live at Leeds, he's amazing. Live at Hull, he's amazing. Woodstock, every gig. John Entwistle is the Who. This man is the Who. He's all the talent in the band. Him. They're all talented, man. They're all good, but John Entwistle is the only guy in the Who who's just really amazing. Roger Daltrey's a great singer.